638 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver as well. And Congressman Scott DesJarlais is joining us on the Newsmaker hotline for your Tuesday, November 14th. Congressman, always great to have you with us. So apparently the House has voted to pause the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas. 8 Republicans and all Democrats voting to pause that impeachment. I would say that I'm surprised by that, but I don't know why I would say that because nothing shocks me anymore with the Republican Party. What say you? What happened?
Well, of all the impeachments going on, people want to impeach Biden and impeach Secretary Austin or impeach Secretary Mayorkas. There's one person that absolutely clearly is not doing his job, and that's Alejandro Mayorkas. So I don't know if it's a process thing. The vote that we took last night was to refer the issue to committee where it'll just sit there and nothing will happen. If we had voted against that last night, then it would have come forward quickly. And, of course, I voted no, and 200 and some of my colleagues voted no. As you said, 8 Republicans, I don't even know who they are or what their thought process was, voted yes to send it to committee. And then, unfortunately, there was about 12 Republicans and 12 Democrats absent. So it was a great opportunity to put this guy in his place. The arrogance that he shows when he goes in hearings is unmistakable. And if there's anybody in the entire Biden commission or cabinet that needs to go, it's Mayorkas. But yet, once again, last night, we've now just referred this back to the committee to think about it some more.
You know, it is stunning to me because, as you said, Congressman, Mayorkas, although it's my contention, of course, that he is just following the direction of the Biden administration. But you're right when it comes to, the lying about the Border Patrol and the arrogance and also the lying about saying that the border is closed when it is clearly open. I think you're right. Behind the scenes, when you see that there's 8 Republicans that went and voted with the Democrats to pause this whole thing, is there anything the leadership, Speaker Mike Johnson, is there anything leadership can do to whip everybody in line on this stuff or no?
I wish I'd had time to figure out who the 8 were, so maybe it would make more sense to me. Some people are worried about the process, that it becomes just kind of standard operating procedure up here. It's like impeaching President Trump twice or censuring people. It's become a little bit feckless, toothless, and totally political. But here's a case where I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, Democrat mayor of New York, whatever, you see the problem at the border, and this person should be held accountable. So I'll work at getting a better answer to what happened there, and that leadership did not recommend a no vote on the bill. A lot of times when you get your vote notifications of what we'll be voting on, leadership will make a recommendation on certain things. Vote yes on this, vote no. You don't have to do that, but they make a recommendation. I did not see a recommendation to vote no, so I'll have to do a little more research and decide or see if I can figure out a better answer as to what happened with those 8.
Congressman Scott DesJarlais joining us on WTN. Okay, let's talk about some government shutdown news. In the headlines today, Speaker Mike Johnson, they are saying this is a, quote, leadership test. So it's interesting because he had this sort of 2-tiered short-term funding idea where he has ag, energy, water, military VA construction, I think, and some other things. That funding is until January 19th. Other funding, including the military, goes until February 2nd. So it was 2-tiered. And so as I look at the reaction to all of this, they say that, hardliners are enraged and, some of the folks in the mushy middle, they're sort of bewildered and Democrats don't really know what to do. What do you think of this? Because some people are saying he's crazy like a fox and that this might actually work, including, by the way, Mitch McConnell.
Well, I saw where Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer were showing their love for this plan, which means probably Hakeem Jeffries will also support it. So in the years that I've been here, I do not vote for CRs because they are a symbol of us not doing our job, not going through regular order, not passing our appropriation bills, not passing a budget, and going further in debt. I did vote for the CR a month ago that had border security and 30% cuts, but that was hardly a CR. That was great legislation that was going to go nowhere in the Senate, but we would have been able to force the Senate to say, border security isn't that important. We're stripping it off and we're doing a clean CR. Right now, I don't know exactly what Mike Johnson's doing with this. I see it. They're actually talking about bringing it on the floor on suspension, which means they are anticipating that pretty much all the Democrats would vote for it, so it does not even go through Rules Committee. They're afraid that the hardliners will bring down the rule, and they couldn't even get it to the floor. So, I mean, be watching. This could come to the floor today under suspension, which means they have Democratic buy-in, which means your congressman, or not your congressman, congressman for the 4th District, will not be voting for it, and I'm sure Andy Ogles and John Rose and Mark Green won't either. So basically, yeah, it's two-tiered, or you could call it two turds. Or we're going to eat one turd in January and one in February. I don't know if this is actually one turd he's just going to cut in half, and we'll eat half in January and half in February. But either way, it's basically a capitulation, and they're calling it something different, but it's the same thing. We're just doing a continuing resolution at same funding levels to kick the can down the road and buy more time, in my opinion.
So based on the last 30 seconds of commentary, how do you think Speaker Mike Johnson is doing so far?
Well, I mean, I don't see any form of real leadership, but I can't say that I expected a guy that came out of obscurity. He's a good guy. He's my friend. I like him. I don't know how anyone could do any better than he's doing. I don't know anything that is good enough for me to vote for, and a lot of the more conservative state representatives is good enough to vote for, the Senate wouldn't take, so there would be a shutdown fight at the end. So in other words, he may have been given an impossible task. Question will be, will he be given a pass? Kevin McCarthy was ousted allegedly because he gave a CR with 45 days and continuing work on our appropriation bills. So it will be interesting to see what the hardliners do. Of course, I was not one of the ones who ousted McCarthy. 96% of us thought, let's continue to work, do our job, message, try to investigate, try to message, try to block Biden's agenda, and that's what we were doing. But then we went into we're now in our 10th week of chaos. We usually have a week in the district to get out, see people, meet people, and work. This is our 10th straight week up here, and frankly, we've been pulling appropriation bills left and right. Last week we did 100 amendments on 2 different appropriations bills, only to have them pulled at the last minute because there was 8 people on each of them that wouldn't vote for it, so we couldn't even pass our own appropriation bill. So I guess my point is, I don't know that Mike Johnson is doing anything better than Kevin McCarthy was, or Steve Scalise could have done, or Jim Jordan's could have done. We're down to three votes in the Republican conference now. They just added a member from Rhode Island last night in a special election, so we have a 3-vote margin now, and that's a lot of personalities to try to get moving in one direction. So, I mean, we've got a message, we've got to investigate, and we've got to block the Biden agenda. That's our one job in the 118th Congress, and for the last month and a half, it's been pretty much chaotic up here.
Some general news, Congressman. The president headed to San Francisco this week to meet with Xi Jinping. And I've been noting with some frequency the last 24 hours, I do find it fascinating that they're cleaning up the city of San Francisco, yet the two guys who have really led to the destruction of San Francisco are Chinese President Xi Jinping, the manufacturing of fentanyl chemicals going into Mexico, and then they are brought into America courtesy of Joe Biden's open southern border, yet they're cleaning up the streets of San Francisco of all of these fentanyl-addicted homeless people. Kind of ironic, it seems to me, and then I'll let you comment on this, but, it just seems to me like Xi Jinping and Joe Biden should see their handiwork. What say you?
I've been kind of following that story as well, and I think Jesse Waters or someone had Johnny out interviewing the homeless, and they're kind of being swept under the rug, and it's not uncommon for leaders to do that. China's famous for doing that, so you want to put your best foot forward. But we need to have some serious discussions with President Xi, and there's of course military issues, there's economic issues, but I guess this is a start, but it speaks a lot to Gavin Newsom and the state of California, the state of our country, when you're just going to ignore the problems that we've all been talking about and hope that somebody doesn't see them. The conditions in San Francisco and so many of the big cities around the country, you can almost pick any big Democrat-run city and see this type of chaos. Carjackings in D.C. have doubled in the past year. You can't walk 2 blocks from the Capitol up here without stepping over somebody that's got a needle in their arm and laying half naked writhing around on the sidewalk. So, this is a problem that's nationwide. As you mentioned, the fentanyl that's coming in, there's some serious talks that they need to have. I don't know if you welcome somebody with open arms, maybe you meet on a neutral site and have a serious discussion about, the damage that's being done to our country. But what a joke. And it's an embarrassment once again for our country, and that we're kind of coddling this man that is working to build an arsenal to destroy our country. So we've got problems all around the world, and this is Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden's answer to diplomacy.
Well, you talked about, Congressman, the carjackings in Washington, D.C. A lot of those carjackings, by the way, are being done by teenagers. And so I guess part of the question that I would have for you, just on a personal note, final question here, Congressman Scott DesJarlais, is how difficult is it for you? I've asked Senator Hagerty the same question. How difficult is it for you to spend a good part of your time in a cesspool swamp like Washington, D.C.? It's got to be awful.
Well, my favorite part is when we head back home so I can see my wife and kids, and the worst part is getting on a plane coming up here knowing we got to battle this. Most of our work's done indoors. I don't get out and see the city, but I have staff that works here. I literally, my legislative director last week got rear-ended on a highway coming back in the evening. It ended up being a 4-car pileup. The person that caused it was drunk, stoned, something, walked away. They still haven't held her accountable for the accident, and so everyone's paying with their own insurance. And while she had a rental car, somebody tried to break into it, broke out the back window, tore out the dash, tried to steal it, and then they wouldn't rent her another car without a $500 deductible. So this is just people in my office. My scheduler had her car broken into within the same week. And so that's the way that they live up here. And, I go from the airport to my office and back and get the hell out of here. But the crime is just amazing. And if you stay within a block or two of the Capitol, you're okay. Today, there's going to be a big pro-Israeli march on the mall, and I'm sure we're going to see some clashes. So today could get lively up here, too. And we're about to go. I got to go here in a few minutes and watch the video of the October 7th crimes that were committed by Hamas on Israel, and they're showing that to the members of Congress. So I guess we don't forget the damage that was done. But it'll be a lively week up here. At the end of the week, we're probably going to pass some kind of a CR with Democrat and Republican buy-in, and that'll push us into next year. But we won't really have accomplished anything. And I just hope, for the sake of the country, that we settle in here in the next year and pass. I don't know what kind of legislation we can pass that Biden will sign, but let's at least show Americans what Republicans stand for, and that's a secure border and a strong military and energy independence, and those are things that we're going to be doing between now and next November. And hopefully, we can get a handle on this crime and fentanyl and all these other problems. It's a big task, but we're here trying to do the work. Well,
Congressman, this is going to make me late, and I apologize. I've got to ask, though, you're going to see this video, this film documenting October 7th in Israel. Will the squad and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and the Democrats that have been so rabidly anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, will they be going to see the movie, the video as well?
I've seen a lot of the clips, so part of the reason I'm going is just for that reason. I want to see if they care enough to show up. I want to see if they come. I was in the chair when we were debating Rashida Tlaib being censured, and I had to fight back about every member of the squad with the gavel because they, would go crazy whenever their time had expired. It was a lively hour in the chair managing that debate. So I will let you know, but I'm going to go find out here in about 10 minutes.
Hey, will you send me a text and let me know?
Yep. I will do it.
Thank you, Congressman Scott DesJarlais here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.